So there are 6 classes in Diablo Immortal, and you're only able to bring 4 along with you. So are there 2 classes that are stepped down of the other ones, or are there just a few that you actually need to run in every party to make sure you're going through the game as efficiently as possible? Or can you just combine whatever you want and there isn't too much of a speed difference in between all of them? Let's talk about it. So once again, we are on the Aftershock United Master spreadsheet here, and I will leave a link to the Discord in the description down below if you want to go ahead and join us. This interface is the easiest to go ahead and look at the skills and some of the reasons why I think subclasses are going to be an absolute must-have in your party over other classes that could fit in, but maybe not as high priority. And I do want to mention that I think that there are 3 classes in general that are going to be of utmost importance in your party. And then there's going to be 1 spot that kind of can be filled depending on what your content you're facing is, or what type of speed you're looking to run at, or even the skill level of your party members. So let's start off with the Demon Hunter, which I think is going to be an absolute must-have. I'll start off with the 3 that I think are going to be an absolute must-have. And why do I think the Demon Hunter is going to be an absolute must-have? Well, really for the damage. I mean, this guy's going to be pumping up as much damage as humanly possible. Going to have a ton of AoEs with the multi-shot. Going to have just insane damage with sentries, with vengeance, just constantly pumping out single target damage. And that is the main bottleneck generally when you're going through content, is both speed, like actual movement speed or movement abilities, and the actual boss at the end. Those 2 things are going to be the things that are going to be preventing you from speeding through dungeons. It's not going to be the random, goblin or whatever walking in your dungeon. It's going to be those bosses or the actual distance that you have to travel, which is one of the reasons why I think Demon Hunter is going to be an absolute must-have in your party. You're going to want one in there to constantly berate those bosses with a bunch of bolts here. I do want to mention that, obviously, if you're playing as a casual player, you can play as whatever classes you want. So keep that in mind when we're going through here. Second class I think is going to be an absolute must-have is going to be the Barbarian. And there's 2 reasons for this. First reason is the Demoralize here. This Demoralize, although when you read it, it says taunts and reduces damage by enemy or of the enemies that are actually nearby by 30%. You can actually modify this skill with a legendary item that increases your entire party's damage. So obviously we mentioned that Demon Hunters are going to be a massive, massive boon to your squad, but not only is this going to give your own damage as well as the other 3 party members damage, but it's going to boost those demon hunters perhaps in your party by a lot in terms of damage. And so this will give you a lot of bang for your buck in terms of actually providing a ton more damage overall for your whole squad. If you just ran a Demon Hunter in this slot, I think you would get less damage overall than running a Barbarian with Demoralize and then doing a bunch of extra damage as well. And on top of that, Barbarian's going to allow you to sprint. You're going to give you the speed bonus to your whole squad all the time. Just be constantly running through the dungeons, and that is super important. Honestly, one of the biggest kind of detriments to speed is actual moving through the dungeons, which is one of the reasons why Crusader's quite quick and quite preferred, as well as the Barbarian here. Between the sprint, allowing you to run through, and the extra damage, you're going to be melting through those bosses really quickly, as well as getting to the bosses very quickly. Next up is going to be the Crusader, and this is going to be the 3rd one that I think is going to be an absolute must-have for the party. So we have Demon Hunter, Crusader, and Barbarian. Those 3 I think are going to be the absolute must-haves, because Barbarian, obviously I already mentioned, is going to be having those amazing support skills for you to move through the dungeons as well as kill the dungeons quickly, specifically the bosses. The Demon Hunter is going to be the one getting buffed up by these other characters and allowing them to be moving quickly as well as killing the bosses quickly. They're your damage. And then Crusader, similar to the Barbarian, you're going to have 2 buffs in particular that I want to talk about. First off is going to be the Conjuration of Light buff. And that seems like it's not going to be speeding up your dungeons, right? It's going to give you the damage immunity for 3 seconds, protecting you and nearby allies. Okay, how does that have to do with actually making the content more efficient? Well, this actually can be modified by a legendary item, once again, to allow the entire party to be actually buffed up with flame shields, essentially, burning everyone around them, doing massive damage. it is going to be easily one of the best skills to clear out all the trash mobs and allow you to just focus on the boss, as well as dealing more damage to the boss on top of all that. Definitely an excellent buff here, and if you want to, you can also swap it over to damage immunity just to keep you alive. Draw and quarter will be an excellent way to go ahead and scout out the dungeons, running in front of everyone and just slapping some of the things, kind of start the events happening. Allowing you to have that 65% movement speed will basically not slow your whole squad down. You can just go ahead and do that for them, which is an excellent boon to your squad. And then even more importantly, the biggest damage buff in the game, this Holy Banner is gotta be one of the best group buffs, if not the best group buffs, in terms of actually progressing and efficiently doing PvE content. Giving Holy Banner out will increase your damage by a ton, because you're going to be increasing crit chance by 100% for your whole squad, and if you happen to have extra crit chance, it goes into crit damage. There are a lot of legendary items that can actually modify this Holy Banner as well, including one that can allow you to basically center the Holy Banner on yourself. So as a Crusader, you could basically sit back, sit next to your Demon Hunter or Hunters, or maybe Demon Hunter plus Wizard, and then giving them a damage bonus. You don't actually have to be in the fray. This Holy Banner is enough damage to actually be able to warrant you to just sit back with this buff and provide so much to your squad. This skill is absolutely insane, and definitely going to be a must-have if you want to get through some of the content in the game much quicker. Now, one thing before I mentioned the last class that's kind of a flex class. This is obviously speculation in terms of we don't know if these skills are going to be changing. We don't know if the dungeons are going to be changing. We don't know if these skills, there's going to be additional skills. We don't know any of that. So just keep that in mind with a grain of salt when we're talking about what the best classes are. And in terms of this last one that we're going to mention, I think that this spot is a flex spot, as I mentioned, but I think there's going to be two standout options in specific when we're talking about this last option. And I think those are going to be Demon Hunter. I actually think Demon Hunter, a second Demon Hunter, is going to be an excellent addition. I think between the Crusader, you're going to get all those damage bonuses, and the Barbarian, who's also giving damage bonuses, and speed. You're going to be able to speed up your double Demon Hunters very quickly through the dungeons, as well as boosting their damage and just strict damage, as well as crit chance between the Crusader and the Barbarian. I think that's going to be a deadly combo to just melt those bosses with a double Demon Hunter. I think another option is going to be the Wizard here. The Wizard's going to do a lot of single target damage, as well as having a combo ability, so you could do massive damage on an AoE. And when you're running the Barbarian and Crusader, they're going to be in the thick of things. So if you have a Demon Hunter plus Wizard, you go ahead and have them stand back, have the Barbarian and Crusader just kind of charge into things, and then you're going to have a fine time playing the Wizard. Wizard actually does a lot of damage. The only problem with them is that they have to kind of stand still for some of their skills, as well as get enough time to get their combos off. But they do have an excellent support skill. I guess more of a damaging support skill in terms of Black Hole here, where they're going to gather up all the units and basically pull them together so that you can just absolutely annihilate them. So excellent choice here in the Wizard. And then I actually think that the Monk is an excellent option, as well as the Necromancer. But I think that the Necromancer inches it out quite a bit, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, these command skeletons and overall the summons in general is going to do a ton of single target damage for the boss fights. Excellent skills there, as well as just having a ton of extra damage and CC here with the Command Golem is going to allow your other characters to just melt them in terms of the Crusader's AoE damage, as well as the Demon Hunter's single target damage. I think the Command Golem is going to be an excellent skill there. As well as the Dark Curse. This one can actually be modified by a ton of different items to give a lot of bonuses to your squad. So I think that the Necromancer is going to be an excellent choice. And I think the Monk is going to be an excellent choice for that fourth slot. In terms of actually just single target damage and AoE damage with the Exploding Palm, I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. And you might even have some extra support skills in Inner Sanctuary and things like that. I do not think that you should be running a double Crusader or double Barbarian. I think that's probably too much support. I guess you could run double Barbarian and maybe kind of stagger your speed skills, and you'll have a little bit extra damage with Barbarian. But I think Crusader specifically, and the main reason for that is you don't necessarily want to pull out damage to give you more support skills, because at some point you're going to have too much support to where the support, yes, it's amplifying your damage, but if you just had another damage dealer in there, you deal more damage than if you had double support. And I think that's where Crusader and Barbarian kind of come in. Whereas the Monk can have a lot of AoE damage, and you can kind of prioritize that. You could build Barbarian and Crusader with pure damage, but I think if you're talking about pure damage, you should just go for the Wizard or the Demon Hunter. And I'd rather just drop the Barbarian and Crusader, or the second Barbarian or second Crusader. So just to wrap up the video, I think that the three classes you're going to want is a Barbarian, Crusader, and a Demon Hunter for every party. The fourth slot, I don't recommend a Crusader or Barbarian. I think Crusader and Barbarian are necessary for one of the first three. I don't think you should be running two of them. You could run two Demon Hunters. I think that's an excellent strategy. Or a Wizard, Monk, or Necro for extra damage, as well as a little bit of extra support if you may need it in terms of the Necro or the Monk, because the Wizard or Demon Hunter is just going to be absolute single target damage and AoE damage for you. So that is the optimal party composition, in my opinion, or the best party composition in terms of 4. Obviously, if you're playing as a casual, you don't really care too much about that, but if you do have a couple of friends and you want to push the game decently hard, you're going to want to at least pick a few of the classes here that are going to give you an advantage, at least from the information that we already know. So that'll be it for this video, and I will see you for the next one.